Hey everybody. So I wanted to go on and do another sidebar. Um One of the points or purposes of doing the BU room is one, we wanted to just, do some sisterly conversations and, talk about different things. And if you listen, hopefully it helps out or it's a good conversation, whatever. But also, I wanted this to be a platform too to talk about some, personal family matters, or, and, not just me, but all four of us, or we would invite somebody, or, something on the lines of that. So, one of the things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to continue to talk about, is being an autism mom. And I know if you've seen our previous sessions, then you know that I have four kids. Two of my two youngest kids, Logan and Carson, they are both on the autism spectrum. And I just feel like, just like every other autism parent, that this is a conversation that needs to be had. Um, I think it's good to bring awareness to this because, myself personally going through all of this, I had a lot of questions. I had great family support, but none of us really knew like really how to help or what to do, or anything like that. And I just think that it's really good to be able to have that conversation because it's nothing to be embarrassed about, which that is a part of the adjustment process. I don't care who you think you are, but at some point, um you question things and you feel a certain type of way. But I'm gonna talk about all of that. So just to give a background, I'm going to just start from the beginning with Logan. Now, Logan is 8. She will be 9 in June. She is my Gemini twin baby. And she is just wonderful. When I had her, she was just this cute little pink butterball. Well, I'm gonna say little because she was big. She always been my little roly poly. But she screamed all of the time. And when I tell you she screamed, it wasn't like a, cute little baby scream or cry. It was like piercing, screaming, I'm gonna pull my hair out, loud scream. And, at first I was like, well, maybe this is just, her. She's gonna grow out of this. And, but as she got older, I noticed that there were things that were different about her that I didn't necessarily experience with my older two kids, Sydney and Lauren. Now, she would repeat. She would go like mama, 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 mama over and over again for however long she felt like she needed to do it. She would always walk with her hands up in the air. And she did her flaps. And at first I was like, okay, this is different. And I, even at a very young age for her, I can remember maybe around about 1 or 2. And I was telling my husband, like, she's different. Something is very different there. I'm gonna use some. I'm gonna see if I could close this thing because this sun is killing me. I can't. I'm in my mom's car. Long story, but she got this newfangled stuff. I don't know, but anyway. So she would scream all of the time, and the repetitiveness, I wouldn't even say it wasn't even a temper tantrum. You can tell the difference between when a kid falls out on the floor, they're rolling around screaming because they didn't get something, compared to she would just scream. You would look at her and she would just start screaming, and it wouldn't stop until whatever was going on in her body or in her system or her mind would go away. So, the first time when I was really serious and I really understood that there was something going on, she was 3. Now I'm going to talk about a place where she went to preschool. I'm not going to say the name or anything, but there was, let me back up. The first daycare that we took her to, she screamed every day, all day for a month. She would come home, her voice would be completely gone. The teachers, they would be like, well, what's wrong with her? We can't comfort her. Like, nothing seems to work. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's a new space. And eventually there was one teacher that kind of, she took to and she calmed down. So that was when we were living in Memphis, which is a whole different story. But we lived down there in Memphis for a year. We moved back. And when we moved back, I put her in a particular place, and she had issues pretty much from day one. The teacher, I just don't think that the teacher really understood how to deal with a child like Logan. And this one particular day, and this was actually the last day she went there, and the last day we ever stepped foot in that building. And what happened was, it just so happened that I was like, I'm gonna go get the kids early from school. So I go and I pulled into the parking lot, and I'm pulling up to the door in my car, and I see Logan dart out of the front door, and she's running across the parking lot. So I hurry up and I almost hit her. Like, that's how close I was to her. I throw my car in park, and as I'm getting out the car and I'm yelling her name, she stopped running. She heard me call her name. She stopped dead in her tracks, and I was like, come here. She came to me, but nobody came outside. There was no teacher running behind her. There was nobody who usually sits at the front desk sitting there running behind her trying to stop her. If that happened, and just didn't so happen to be picking her up early, I would have lost my baby that day, because nobody was paying attention. The door was unlocked. She ran out into the parking lot. And so when I grabbed her, we go in there, and the guy was like, I didn't even see her. I'm so sorry. I said, you know what? This is her last day. I had enough of that particular place. There were some other things going on, but in that moment, I had never experienced any of my kids running like that, which the term that they use for that with autism is elope. I don't know why, but okay. So, we took her out of there immediately. She never went back. There was never any discussion about it. It was over, done with. That was it. So her first year in pre-K, or she went to pre-K, or at the school that she's at now, they have, she started in kindergarten here, because that was during the COVID time and all of that. So really, that first semester, the schools were shut down. She was at home, but I had to sit with her. And, at this point, she's 5. I understand her limitations and what she needs. Her communication was not good. She could talk, mommy, I'm hungry, like very basic things, but communication that usually, I'm going to use some terms that I don't like to use, because the bigger picture is really nothing wrong with her. She is just a very different kid. And so the way that a normal or not different in that manner kid would talk, she didn't. And, I thought about putting her in speech therapy, and, I was like, maybe speech therapy will work, but I had mentioned maybe I thought she had Asperger's at one point, but I never acted on it. And especially because, it was during COVID, and I was like, okay, we're all at home. Now, I'm going to stop and let me switch over to Carson real quick, because their stories intertwine. Of course, it's her brother and sister, but so while she's in kindergarten, her and Carson they're 3 years apart. And so when she was in kindergarten, he was 2. Now, Carson, when I had him, he was a breech baby. I had to have an emergency C-section with him. And he was just so little and cute. um for the most part, the first 10 months of his life, he was a regular developing baby, laughing and giggling, cooing and all of that good stuff, just right on time. And something happened where he just stopped talking, no eye contact. He would even walk around, and for a little bit, he would try to say Lauren. He would walk around, Lauren, 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 and then it just stopped. And he quit talking. There was a very big disconnect. And I used to joke and be like, he does not like me. But really, it was just all a part of the autism. So fast forward to Logan is in kindergarten. Carson is 3. No, 2. And this is during COVID. So any testing, like autism evaluations, assessments, anything like that, we were not doing, because everything was shut down. And I said, we'll just see how it goes with us being in the house, and we'll take it from there. So everything starts to open back up. We get through the rest of that year, and I let the kids go back to school. And Logan, she would scream at school. She would hit people, pull hair, just all kinds of stuff. And I just couldn't understand, why is she doing this stuff? Like, what is going on? So I'm working with the school. We ended up putting her in special education, because I was like, she's still not communicating or anything, and maybe this is just the best thing that we should do right now. So that next February, I decided to put Carson in daycare, because I was like, well, maybe if we put him around other kids his age, maybe he'll talk. Maybe he will, start to interact more, because he would growl and grunt. He would climb up on the table, and there was no communication at all. We were literally learning Carson based off of body language and groans and grunts. So I put him in daycare, and the daycare lady, she was awesome. The director, awesome place. And she was like, I think we need to do a full evaluation with him. She said, we're going to start with speech therapy. So that she had a contracted speech therapist, which just so happened to be a friend of my sister's. So she did the assessment for him for speech therapy, and she was like, yeah. She said, she did the assessment. She called me and she was like, look, we need to do a full panel, because I am getting, I think he's on the autism spectrum. And when she said it, I just broke down crying. I didn't know what else to do. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I knew something was going on. Was I looking? It's one thing to know and feel it, but when you hear those words, and they're saying it about your kid, and they talk about the things that they don't do, it just, something happens. And I just started crying. She was wonderful, though. She gave me all this information. She told me who I could contact as far as getting him fully evaluated, because she was only a speech therapist, and she was like, we need to get him evaluated for occupational therapy and all of that. So I contacted the school. I was able to get him into pre-K, but she was like, I had to go through his primary care doctor to get a referral to do the autism evaluation. Now listen, this part is long and stupid, because apparently there are a lot more kids that are on the autism spectrum than there are people who know what's going on, or even know how to evaluate or anything like that. So the wait list is ridiculous. So this was all going on between February and March of 2021. He did not get his evaluation done until July. And that was only because I called every day. Every day. I the nurse at the doctor's office was like, look, if you haven't heard from them in like about 2 weeks, he was like, call every day. If you call every day, they will, if somebody's cancels, they will call you to come in because they ain't trying to hear you like that. He was, I'm telling you, I guarantee. So that's what I did. And needless to say, we got his evaluation done. And the results was he is on the autism spectrum. Now, the spectrum has 3 different levels. There's level 1, which is, he just needs minor assistance. He may have some communication issues, but for the most part, he is a fully functioning, normal kid. He just needs just a little bit of assistance. Level 2, there's a lot of communication. There's some behavioral issues that start to come in, along with maybe like some learning delays and things like that. And Logan is between level 2 and level 3, and Carson is level 3, which is severe. Severe is he needs full assistance. He is nonverbal. And he can't do anything by himself. Like, if I let his hand go, he'll probably run down the street. But we'll get into that too. So we get his evaluation done first because, of course, he's the one who is not talking. We need to understand what's going on, and we need to get some things implemented, as soon as possible. Now, I'll say this: everybody is different. I process things where I cry about it, and then it's like, what do I need to do to get this into a good space? How do I fix this? So when I found out that he had autism, now my job, I'm crying all the time. Don't get me wrong. It was rough because, I'm trying to understand, is he going to be happy? Is he happy? Is he going to be able to have a somewhat normal life? Is he going to be able to date? What does school look like for him? Like, I have all these questions going through my head, and I'm just, so, I stay up. Because that's the other thing, too. He wouldn't sleep. So he would be up in the middle of the night, like it's party time. I'm exhausted. My husband is exhausted. And I'm going to talk about him, too, because it really does put a lot of weight on your marriage. And for my husband, I'm a fixer. He is I'm going to put it out of my mind. And as long as I don't think about it, maybe it'll go away. And that's just, not reality. And of course, that's not how this works. So there was a lot of late night researching and, just trying to figure out what I could do that would help. I'm talking to people. We have a really good family friend, and, her daughter's autistic. So I'm calling, talking to her, and, I'm reading all this stuff, and then it becomes information overload. So once we got Carson's diagnosis, what they do, and this is typical with any diagnosis when you get an autism diagnosis, what they'll do is they give you all these pamphlets and email links, and they talk about all this. It's just a lot of information, and you're still trying to process the fact that they were just diagnosed with autism, and you're not even fully sure what that looks like or what that is. So, I want to be able to talk to people clearly about this because it really is overwhelming. It's scary. It's a full-blown emotional roller coaster, and you just don't know. And it's okay to not know. And I think that's where I was getting hung up at. I wasn't okay with not knowing that my kid was going to be okay. So, we get him set up with speech therapy. He ended up with speech, occupational, and physical therapy because he was a toe walker. And, he was walking on his tippy toes, and then he had, his feet are turned in, and it was, a whole thing. And so we had to get him to be able to calm down. He still jumps a lot. His feet are still turned in, but he's no longer in physical therapy. Now, there was one particular incident that sticks with me to this day. And what happened was he was 2. No, he was 3. And we were looking for houses. It was me, my husband, and Carson. At this time, I'm still not fully under, I know that he's a runner, but I don't know he's a runner, if that makes sense. Like, I always have my eye on my kids, don't get me wrong. And I usually always have an eye on him. But this particular day, we were walking around looking at houses, and we get to this house, we go in, and Lauren came in after I did. So I thought he had Carson. Now remember, out of sight, out of mind with Lauren. If he puts it out of his head, it doesn't exist. So we walk into the house like a good little ways, and I go, "Where's Carson?" And Lauren was like, "Oh, he's probably out there running around somewhere." And I just took off running because I knew if that door was open, he was gone. I get to the front door is open. He is in the middle of the yard running towards the street. So I'm like, "Carson," I yell his name. Now it had just rained. I'm a big girl. So look, let me tell you, I darted off. I took off running. I jumped off of the porch, slid in the mud, and caught him right before he got to the street. I was so pissed. I was like, "Look, let's just go home. This is it. That's a wrap." But what it did was it made me realize how serious this running off and eloping really is. So from that point on, like, Carson is in hand. Somebody has their hands on him at all times. If we are at home, somebody has eyes on him at all times because he is a professional escape artist. So we have chains on the doors. Then we have like the deadbolts because he knows how to unlock the door. He's just not tall enough to reach the chain yet. So, we have all these different moving parts, and it's overwhelming. And when you have kids that are on a spectrum like that, this is every day, all day, night and day. It's a lot. So back to Logan. We get him evaluated. He's in therapy. We got him in pre-K. We're moving him forward. Logan is still really struggling in school, but they evaluate her in school. So we keep her in a special education program, but we have her listed as developmental delay, and she was on a wait list to be evaluated for autism. So you see how, even though he's the youngest, he was evaluated first because she can communicate. She talks. It's just limited, and there were different things. And again, we didn't know what we were experiencing at this time. So we get her official diagnosis last year. Ooh, excuse me. I'm trying to think if it was last year. In November of last year. It wasn't in November 2023. No, 2022. In November 2022, because we're just into the new year. Crazy. Okay, so in November 2022, we get her official diagnosis that she is level 2. And this also goes into what their mental age is. So like Logan, her being in between the spectrum of the second and third level, but her mental age is around the age of like 3. But that can change, and the reason why they talk about early intervention is because the earlier that you can give your kids the tools that they need to grow, the better chance that it is that they can develop quicker and get to where they need to be age-wise, or should be age-wise. I don't want to say need to be, because everybody grows at their own pace anyway. So for her, um, she is in speech and occupational therapy in school, and she'll be 9 in June. She is doing awesome. The only thing is she is the one with the behavioral issues. This girl will flip your shit if you don't come correctly. Like when I tell you, I'm laughing about it. It's not funny, but it's funny because it's energy. And there are people who don't believe in energy in that way, but energy is real. And you know, I've always believed in energy to a certain extent, but after being around Logan, dealing with Logan, and understanding how she feels and how she communicates and what's going on, I am a firm believer in energy. So when Logan, her whole life, she would like rub her hand like ever so softly on your arm. She was like just massage, and I call it, you know, her exchange of energy, because what she's doing, she won't talk. She will just lay there. She will just rub your arm, but she does not do that with everybody. If she's in a room full of people, well, I won't even say full, because if it's too many people, it's too much. But if she is around somebody, and their energy not right, she will not deal with them. Don't touch me. Don't come around. Like it's real. And you know, some people who don't believe in those kind of things could say, "Oh, she's spoiled. She's bad. She's a brat." Logan is a really, really, really good kid. She's not bad. It is strictly stimulation, energy. If she gets overstimulated, she can't verbalize, "I'm overstimulated, I need to walk away." She just tries to do what is survival of the fittest. Whatever she can do to release that energy is what she's gonna do. So she would like take her clothes off. There was a day in school she had gotten all the way down to her panties because somebody hit her or something, and it just set her off. So it is an everyday thing. We have a conversation in the morning. We meditate. We do deep breaths. There's all kind of things that we do to help her cope throughout the day. And as she gets older, as she matures, as she understands what's going on with her body, because you know, as a female too, we hormones is a bitch. So you know, it's already hard to deal with that anyway. But when you have those kind of sensory stimulations that's more than a regular person, that all kind of plays into everything as well too. So we're constantly working with her. She's doing an awesome job in school. You know, Carson is in kindergarten. He's still nonverbal. He'll say some words. So we're up to maybe about like 5 words. Like he'll say eat, he says dada, mom, and what else? He'll say Sid. That's my oldest daughter, Sydney. Sid. He loves to jump. So what we're doing right now is we're getting him ready for a communication device. I wanted to wait. His speech therapist wanted to start him on one when he was like 3. But I was like, nah, you know, let's see how it's gonna go, because he's trying. He really is. He's babbling a lot. But I think it's time now to, you know, go on and get him into the speech communication device. So I just wanted to kind of give an introduction, because it's almost about time for them to get out. So let me go on and close this up, because I'm in the pickup line. Let me tell you about the pickup line. So and then I'm gonna go. They get out of school at 2:30. Because Carson gets overstimulated and Logan gets overstimulated when it's release time, they don't ride the bus. And I try to be either the first or second car in the car rider line, because they bring them out before all the other kids get to the gym for dismissal, because it's just way too overstimulating for them. And usually by about 1:30, Logan is probably about to flip some desk or something in the classroom anyway. So I come early, and I sit for an hour and a half because the people start pulling up about one something. And so I went on to join the PTO. I'm just telling this quick little story, and then I'm gonna go. But I joined the PTO because I figured, hey, the more time I can spend up here, the better. And the PTO president was like, I don't know why those people get there an hour and a half early to sit in line for nothing for an hour. And I was like, well, I'm one of those people. But, I explained to her why. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm saying this story because you just never know what somebody's situation is or is not. Whether I want to sit here for an hour and a half just because I don't have anything else to do, or because I have two special needs kids that need to be brought out early, it doesn't matter. And what I love about being an autism mom is it has opened my eyes to just this world of understanding everybody. I've always been a little patient, not patient, but patient. And dealing with Logan and Carson it has really helped me see the other side, put the shoe on the other foot, because you definitely have to with them. So as we go through every day, and you get irritated, you get frustrated with adults, there's a lot of undiagnosed autistic adults running around here, and you just never know what's going on. So my word or positive thought, whatever the hell it is I be trying to do at the end of these sessions, today is just be mindful of somebody else's situation, somebody else's space, somebody else's energy. They might be overstimulated. You just never know what's going on. And we just want to be mindful and understanding of those things. So this is sidebar for me, number 2. I'm pretty sure Shameen, Dia, and Nisha might want to do some of their own, but I had time today. So, but thank y'all so much for listening. And whatever feedback, whatever conversation, whatever, I'm always wide open. I hope you all have a great rest of the week. Peace. Oh shit.